Welcome to our program, Coach to Coach. Today's guest is Shawn McQueen. For Shawn's intro, I want to share these words from the About section of RailroadCrossFit.com. Shawn wrote, I lead my life each day by these three things: integrity, intent, and impact. Driven to be an agent of change, to create environments and experiences like no other. Wherever I go, I aim to make it better. Thanks for joining us today, Shawn. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Coach to Coach.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Yeah. I hope we live up to that in this episode. I'm sure we will. The way I
hmm
like to start these is to ask, what first sparked your interest in coaching?
If I rewind time, um, when I was transitioning out of my teens into my early 20s, I was in the military, did 4 years in the service. And while eternally grateful for my time and all the lessons and the gifts and the experiences, I also intuitively knew that was not for me forever. Um, and there are obviously reasons within that. And I was just driven to follow a little nudge inside of me of wanting to help people. And originally, I thought that was going to be through the form of going to school and becoming a dietitian. Um, and that's the path that I began to follow. And I again quickly realized this is not the path for me. And this, however, led me into the world of coaching health and fitness. And I've been doing that for 15 years, very passionately serving a plethora of people, from teenagers all the way to folks in their late 70s. And what a rewarding, fulfilling journey that this has been for me, just in terms of serving people in terms of health is the foundation to life.
Mhm.
What a gift to serve people in that platform. And along my own journey, I right around 2016, 2017, I began really um, working on myself as an individual in the personal development, that realm. I was evolving as a professional, and as I was evolving my business from professional mentorship, I saw coaching, and through that time of working with a coach myself, um, this human being, Mandy, severely supported me, guided me, helped me through so many, you know, just unique experiences, conditioning, stories, all sorts of human experiences across 5 years. And I never even met her.
Mhm.
We worked together in a virtual platform. And somewhere along my journey with Mandy, as I was serving people in the health and fitness realm, I had another nudge, and that nudge was I want to begin to serve people what I would describe as like with no barriers, where health and fitness, I'm serving your body, I'm serving your nutrition. We're focusing in the wellness realm, which is still very prominent for me. And I also saw and was desiring to help beyond that, from the ways in which we judge ourselves, personal relationships, um, leadership, just all sorts of realms where I didn't want to be particularly limited or confined into a specific category of how, because you came to me to get fitter, or healthier or stronger, I wanted just to expand what that would look like. So it was that nudge of working with Mandy that led me down multiple roads. Excuse me. Um, Reading the book of Being the Ultimate Coach dramatically changed my life. Um, Coming into being a conscious creator, which led me to this whole world of understanding who I'm being, and taking that work in the self-development realm to a deeper level of understanding, which led me to Steve Hardison's work, who's a tremendous mentor of mine, which led me to Ankish Jain. And I did some deep, deep work with Ankish Jain, transformational work. And he's a fantastic coach. Um, a work of like going really deep inside that
Mhm.
had changed the trajectory of my life, my marriage, my parenting, and now, which led me to go through his coaching and leadership school and then create my second business to support people in a platitude of realms, which I'm sure we'll get to as
Mm.
well. But um, that's a short form answer for a
Yeah.
beautiful question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the way you described your journey. First off, thank you for your service.
Mm,
Um, and I love the fact that in a different way you're continuing to serve people. So I think that's
mm,
amazing. And
mm,
the other thing I loved about the way you described your journey is kind of like going in a direction and then knowing this may not be the perfect direction for me, and being open to changing and following that wisdom and guidance and nudges along the
mm,
way. So it's a beautiful story. So thank you for
mm,
sharing it.
mm,
I am curious to learn a lot more about what you're doing now. You mentioned your new business, and I'm sure, you know, Railroad CrossFit and your coaching practice are probably intimately linked in some fashion. But I'd love to hear more about how you're working, who you're working with these
mhm.
days, and just to paint a picture for people about that they could kind of relate to in terms of how coaching is playing out for you.
Yeah. So what's interesting to me is I know coaching in two different realms now, where there's this health and fitness coaching that I've been doing at an intimate level for 15 years. And then when folks in this world are mentioning coaching, like now I'll shift it to my one-to-one practice. Okay. So my one-to-one practice, when I think about the clients I'm serving and what we're working on and helping them through, an example is like I'm working with a couple on doing deep inner work of again excavating the ways in which we have this unconscious way of judging ourselves and kind of going through life and bringing that to the forefront and then doing some of the again the deep work that I went through with Ankish
Mm,
and creating something which is known as the document, which is your inherent truth, and bringing that through. And it's a very intimate process that's transformational for everybody that has gone through this process. So much so that I work with a husband and wife, and what it's done for their marriage. While we're working on the deep inner work, we're also working on parenting. We're also working on their relationship, communication skills, just things that again every day kind of can get lost in the shuffle that
mm,
support living and creating the life that they want to live that brings us closer to that. A short story there is the work was so powerful. um, the wife one day we're in the middle of a session and she says, hey, I have a question for you. Our son, who's a teenager, he's really struggling in school and we're having a hard time getting through to him. Would you be open to connecting with him? And I said, absolutely. And long story short, got on a call with this brilliant young man, and we just had a beautiful conversation. I won't go into what. And this young man went from viewing himself a certain way within these difficult situations within school to fast forward now, he just graduated eighth grade with straight A's in math.
mm,
And what we spoke about, he still speaks about to this day to his mother. And it was, again, going inside. So that's an example. I
mm,
have another gentleman who I work with who he's selling his business. So it's like all the minutia that goes into leadership and change. He's about to have his fifth child. Like there's just so much intertwined in there of like lifestyle.
mm,
I work with an individual very intimately on his nutrition, his training, and what I call his being. So it's like interweaving his whole holistic journey from, how he now works out to elicit, the results that he wants and once was not getting, his nutrition, because I have immense background in this as well, again,
mm,
supporting him in that. And then combining the internal work all holistically through all three. And to me, that's just super rewarding. So, again, it knows no limits. It can be wherever a person, individual needs to go, is struggling, wants to go. I look at it like just a holistic human experience from the communication skills to the relationship skills to the more practical of like what I'm eating, how I'm moving my body, and like none of it's off the table. Where do we want to go? What do we want to improve? And the clients that I'm working with, just dramatic results
Mm,
that I just they're just soul like I call this my soul's work. It's like over here is just so fulfilling in the health and fitness realm. And over here, it's just even deeper now as it's more intimate in this one-on-one setting.
yeah, yeah. I love those stories. It's what's occurring to me. I've just started doing, well, started, I guess I've been working on it for a couple months now, my own document. But
Mm,
the thing I heard differently today with you describing that I hadn't really seen before is just how, um, I guess, prominent judgment is as kind of a guiding force in our lives, innocently
yeah,
so.
yeah.
Whether it's living out of those judgments or avoiding judgments or avoiding what we perceive as other people's judgments of us. But it's just like this. I just saw very clearly like judgment, almost like a beacon that for whatever reason is tends to be kind of the default way that we operate until we know better.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what you're. It sounds like you're pointing people to is this conscious creation
Hmm.
process of you don't have to be like a moth to that light of judgment. You
Hmm.
can let go of all that stuff. So yeah, it's wonderful, and I love the my coach and mentor Jamie Smart.
Mm,
His mission statement is something to the effect of um, uh, creating an environment where the next generation of kids grow up where people already know all this stuff. Uh,
hmm.
and the fact that you're working with like a husband and wife and their kid, and just my kids are 22 and 20, and
Mm,
I've done what I I've done what I've done in the last 5 years to kind of share what I've seen for myself with them. But it's like when I got into this, I started thinking back like, oh my God, if I knew about this when I was 13, 15, 18, all these kind
hmm.
of critical milestone periods of my life, how different, not that things were bad or anything, but how different my outlook on life, what I would have created. I started this part of my life when I was 48,
Mm.
and my daughter just graduated from university. My son's halfway through, and I'm so excited for them not to wait till they're 48 to find what they're truly passionate about, and follow that.
Yeah. And briefly, I honor you for finding it, for
Mhm.
doing the work, whether it's 48, 28, 78, you know, I think about it like this, because you are intentional and you're willing to go into that arena,
Mhm.
what you choose to do from that and how it supports the next generation, your children, whoever is around you in your bubble that you love, and just whoever gets space with you, like me getting space with you today,
Mhm.
you're a more loving, full expression of yourself. Whereas maybe what we're talking about before is we're stuck in the ways in which we're criticizing ourselves or continually being hard on ourselves or living into what I would call or has been called small self,
Yeah.
where, and that can really rob us. And to have a, sounds like you and what we're talking about here is creating a safe and sacred space to bring these incredibly vulnerable ways in which we unconsciously and consciously are thinking and essentially creating ourselves out into the world through that thinking and
Mhm.
bring it and then work a really powerful process of forgiveness that you're walked and you're guided through, which like until I came into this world, I used to think of my relationship with forgiveness like a holiday, like it would come around, once a year, or it'd be so
Mhm.
easy to give to somebody else. But for me to forgive myself was like foreign. So to work and to shift that, the shifts in you begin to change. And then when you begin to change, how you operate in the world begins to change from not only your work or where you are, but your home, which is the most important thing in those four walls, like the love with your partner, the love with your children, and then how you go out and the vibrations that you bring, the energy you bring, the service you bring into the world, regardless of what you're doing. And it's just how you're doing it from who you're being.
Absolutely. I mean, this may sound like I don't know, I don't know how it'll sound, so I'm just going to say it. But you know, I hear your background of being in the military and then getting into fitness coaching and all this stuff, and it creates this image of like intensity and
Hmm.
the typical stereotypical imagery that you would see that, and then I see this kind of totally opposite spectrum of I don't know, love and kindness and forgiveness and things. I'm curious, like, how did those two worlds kind of collide for you, and what changed in the way you approach um, training people physically, I guess,
Mm.
that's different in your new world than it would have been in the old world. If there is anything that kind of
Yeah,
jumps out at you.
that's a great question. And I don't know if I've ever been asked that question. The first thing that came up for me is, um, I used to be really riddled by insecurity.
Mm,
When I think about the younger version of myself who was a teenager, like I had bad skin, I was very skinny. And I think when I began and I got into working out, and then even in the military, there was something proving behind it all,
mm,
proving to myself, um, and eventually creating a body that I was proud of and confident in because wherever I was not that. And I hadn't yet known or been given the enlightenment that like, man, I'm whole and complete as I am. Everything else is just a bonus. Like I wasn't there.
mm,
Um, and so what I can see now is like I love and meet people at that place and have as soon as I began coaching people, like whether they're in that same place that I was of really being hypercritical and not satisfied. And I don't look at it as just a journey of um, providing a great experience or workout or where that might be, holistically, it's coming home to self and loving all aspects of self within that. So I think in the beginning days when I was training and coaching people in the health and fitness realm, it was also supporting them in building what you're speaking to. Like there's a part of myself that I love who's strong, who's sturdy, who's disciplined, who's resilient, who can do really difficult things and do them well. I almost call it like suffer well in terms of what comes out of some challenges within training.
mm,
And I think there's a lot to be gained from a leadership perspective, from a way in which you can deepen your own aspects of how you know yourself in those ways. And I really believe that to be true. And I've experienced that of myself. And as I've gotten more mature, wiser, and radically improved my relationship with myself, it's all rippled into my coaching of, um, meeting people where they're at, supporting them where they're at, not having any judgment of what this may look like, removing certain language of how I communicate when I guide them through those
mm,
experiences. And I don't know what it's like to be in a 65-year-old woman's body who's arthritis or, going through menopause. And I can have so much grace and empathy and care and still support them and meet them differently, uh, than the next person. And all have love and also see in them what they can't quite see yet and
mm,
support them within that. So, if anything, I think as I've over time really come to self-love, not knowing I need to do that for people, but leading that and being that, and it just ripples into every experience that I believe people have with me. So I hear you of like maybe seeing it, but someone could potentially judge a book by its cover
mm,
of like whether it's background, whether it's how I would look or how you would interpret me, and then when you get to know me at a more intimate level or 20 minutes here with me,
yeah.
I'm a beneath the surface human. Like
Mm,
I'm ready to go right under with you, be there with you, love you, and also be sturdy with you.
mm.
And I think there's a lot of magic in that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's I don't know about you, but if I go back 5 years or 10 years in my life, uttering the phrase self-love was probably not in my
Hmm.
vocabulary. Um,
Hmm.
and it's an amazing place to get to and to work
Yeah.
from and operate from in the world.
Yeah. And it ripples into like just to share um like how me and my wife parent now. Our 7-year-old when she had a birthday, we have these basement stairs and she had this little present downstairs. And we even set it up like this where like, okay, like, you know, she opens the door and on each step was a little I am statement for her. And we were
Mm,
like, if this statement is true, collect the card and go to the next step. And it was like, I am kind. Yes. And it's like, I am brave. Yes. And she just keeps going down the steps, these 13 steps with
Mm.
like all these things of how she knows herself to be. Now, like she at 7, like you talked about this with your kids,
Yeah.
she knows herself to be like, I am brave, I am kind, I am loving, I'm a good sister. Like the way she is associating with herself as she begins to navigate, growing up and
Mm.
seeing herself as she begins her, evolution in life's journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm,
Yeah. Especially, I mean, at that age, it's just wonderful to hear that compared to the what I would perceive as the kind of the norm, which is peer groups, teachers, whoever in her life, um, telling her what she is versus her creating who she is.
yes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's beautiful to witness.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine. So do you, I'm curious, for lack of a better phrase, the document process, is that something you introduce to your clients early on, or do you work with them for a period of time before you get into that? How does that all play out in your practice?
Yeah. I love to go through that if a person in our discovery sessions are open and desiring that. I
Mm,
love if that feels the right move for both of us. I love to begin there because it's to me it's the excavation that a lot of things come out of,
mm,
and spend the first 6 months of a really intimate process there. Because once we're there, now I have a powerful way of truly seeing myself. I've taken these bricks out of my backpack of these ways in which I was just unconsciously, innocently judging myself. And now I'm consciously creating myself through how I declare myself to be, who I
mm,
know myself to be, and who I choose myself to be in this world. And I speak that, I create that. And just seeing the shifts in people who've started there, everything that comes out of that, their parenting, their marriage, handling hard things is exponentially better, easier. So it's not a must. I
mm.
find it incredibly valuable to begin internal because everything comes from outside it, from inside
So,
out of
yeah.
me. So like if I'm not whole and I want to work on my marriage, it's like, well, what's the thinking that's creating that? How am I
Mm,
judging myself? How am I judging her? And I think it's a really important place to explore. But a person absolutely needs to be open, curious. The hunger needs to be there, the willingness. Because again, you and I both know it can be difficult. It could be uncomfortable. I had a woman who cried every day for 2 weeks through the first part of the process.
mm,
And everybody goes about it differently. Like I remember when I was going through my own self-forgiveness process, like finally combusting and kind of breaking down of I don't think I've ever forgiven myself for these ways in which I was just judging myself for years, for decades.
mm.
And to sit there and to really put my hand on my heart and express forgiveness was radically powerful. So to walk and guide people, along that process, holy smokes. To see their transformations and to experience them has just been life altering.
Yeah. Well, my introduction into the process was through Peter McCammon's
Mm,
video.
mm,
And in his
mm-hmm,
video, he said he was working with a client and they went through I don't know, the judgment process or whatever. And then they were going to meet like 2 weeks later to continue.
mm-hmm,
And she phoned him like partway through and said, "Can we move our meeting up? I can't handle sitting in
mm-hmm.
the misery of all these judgments."
Yeah,
So yeah, it's the warning label on it is like, yeah, when you get into this, um, you're exposing yourself to all these things that you, or at least in my experience of it for myself, that I had buried and thought were, you know, so deeply buried that I didn't ever have to deal with them again.
yeah,
But you start picking at that, and this was my experience. Things that happened decades ago kind of resurfaced, and I was looking at it like a double sided coin. Like the one side of the coin is the pain and hurt and judgment, but the flip side is that's the doorway into freedom of that pain and judgment. So it's definitely a path worth taking.
oh, what a beautiful, thank you for that. That's a beautiful expression. And I think that's why those of us who have gone through it or are willing to go through it, like we understand it. And at a core level, when you were sharing before, I know versions of myself. I can't speak for everybody. There's
Mm,
ways in which I was trying to distract myself from that innocently, like for more work or at younger time in my life, alcohol, or people would just choose different things.
yeah.
Yet when we really go through that door that you're talking about, the uncomfortable door, the freedom, the self-love, the self-acceptance on the other side. And it's a process, like every day is practice.
Mm,
Every single day is practice. And sometimes we're better at it. And sometimes, again, we get caught. We get caught. I got caught not too long ago attaching to some non-useful thinking as an experience came up in my world.
mm,
And I've been through it and I have a document and it's interesting to be on the other side of it. And the speed in which I could recover is exponentially different as well.
mm,
So the benefits just keep compounding, keep growing. And again, the ripples out. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this, how it's affected my wife,
mm.
how it's affected my work, how it's affected, of course, the people I work with, our children. Like, this is
Yeah,
holy smokes. Like, there's not enough words to how impactful and important that is. Everything else is just a gift and a bonus.
yeah, yeah. Probably one of my greatest moments was when I can't even remember which kid it was, but one of my kids saying like, "Why have you been so happy lately?" Like it was uncharacteristic, at least
Hmm.
the consistency and the level of happiness I'd been experiencing in that period of time, and it was like the fact that they noticed that. I don't know,
Yeah.
it was a great feeling.
Illuminating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Beautiful.
absolutely. Well, I'm loving this conversation, but maybe we can end it on this. If there's one thing that you'd want people to take away from this conversation, what would that one thing be?
I think what's coming through with that question at this moment is simply to love yourself wholeheartedly, to take care of yourself as if it's the most important job. And I mean that in all the realms,
Mm,
from the self-love to how you tend to your thinking, to what you put into your body, to moving your body, to loving those around you. Um, but like we said before, the inside out, like um, if I'm working on myself, loving, like have a great relationship with myself, not getting stuck in my own noise or my own thinking, I inherently know I'm whole, I'm enough, I'm complete, and yeah, I have drive and I have goals. Man, you're just coming from a different place.
mm,
But stemming, I think that the simplistic term is love heals all things and love
mm,
yourself.
mm. Beautiful. If our listeners are interested in learning more about you and the work you do and want to get in touch with you, what's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah. I don't know if anyone's ever given their phone number out on this before. I'm willing to do that because what I just did, folks could email me, Shawn, Shawn, McQueen, coaching at gmail.com. Email's like, you know, it's email. You could
Yeah.
you could text me or call me, and we could have a conversation because I love having conversations. I loved this conversation. I
Mm,
love connecting and talking with people and being with people. So if that's something that is allowed,
yeah.
um,
No rules
you
here.
know, yeah. So whether that's a text or WhatsApp, it's the same. Area code 917-318-9970, and just, reference Greg's amazing podcast and say, if you want to connect, I would love to, one, share time and space with you and learn about whoever you are and whatever you're up to in the world. Simply, even if it's just, again, maybe something they took away from something you said or I said,
Mm,
or they're interested about something else.
awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I really appreciate your time today, and this has been great getting to know you. and sharing this space with you. So thanks for doing this, Shawn.
Thank you. Thank you for creating this platform, for having people like myself and others on, for giving a voice to this, and being so open and also back and forth. It was a very enjoyable experience, and I enjoyed our time together.
Yeah, I'm glad. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you.